Well, looks like a package came today. Let's see what we have. What is this? Oh, okay. And looks like the Dillon powder check system showed up today. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize it came with a powder check die. I ordered a separate powder check die, thinking that I would need it because I didn't realize that the powder check system would come with a die. Yeah, okay, so well, it looks like I have an extra powder check die. That's fine. I'll use it on one of my other tool heads. So what I'm going to be doing today is, for the first time, I've never set one of these things up. I'm going to go through the process of installing and setting up this powder check die. I bought it primarily to use for 223. I'm finding it impossible to look inside of the 223 cartridges, brass, when I'm reloading. And my powder cop die, which is great for handgun loads, the little probe is too big to fit down the neck of a 223, so I can't use the powder cop die for 223 reloading, which is the whole reason why I bought the powder cop. But that's okay. It gave me an opportunity to buy one of these powder check dies for Dillon, and kind of always wanted one just as an extra safety precaution. So the reloading the 223 kind of gave me the opportunity to do that. I'm using the Lee dies for this. I'm using the collet neck sizing die to resize my Lee, to resize my 223 cartridges, and a standard Lee die set for all the others. So here's my setup. As you can see, there's a empty space here for the Dillon powder check die. So that's what I'm going to be installing today. So right here here's the Lee collet for resizing and depriming. Here's the standard Dillon powder charge station. This is where the Dillon powder check is going to be installed. This is the Lee seating die, and this is the Lee crimp die, all for 223. Now you notice that I'm using the Lee retainer bolt screws, nuts, and notice that I had to turn them upside down. The Lee retainer bolts, nuts, what should I call this? Retainer bolts, caps, have there's a O-ring, a rubber O-ring that sort of fits into that channel right there. And so typically these things are turned the other way. I have them upside down because of that channel kind of takes away a good 1/8 inch of thread area. So turning them upside down gives me the opportunity to fit them properly, have them properly installed deep enough in the tool head. Let's turn on the LED light for this. That'll help. There, a little better. This freaking phone has a tendency to not focus when I want it to focus, and it's set for autofocus. So let's hope that it keeps operating the way I hope it does. Anyway, so yeah, turning those caps for the lead dies upside down gives me a little extra thread, so I can drop these tool heads down to their proper depth for proper function on the press. So when I come back, I'm going to start the process of installing this. I've never done this before, so you're going to see the foul ups and the whole nine as I work through the process of installing this. So go grab the tripod, set this up, and we'll be on our merry way. Okay, so let's start by unbagging what we have. Said earlier I ordered an extra powder dye, so here that is. Apparently I don't need it because the Dillon powder check dye apparently comes with an extra one. But anyway, so here are the instructions for how to install this thing. Okay, so much for that. So here's the die and the body itself. I guess that's the buzzer, speaker. This is the actuator, a little piece that sticks down into where the die protrudes through the body. This is the, I guess, top piece, and this is one of the actuators. It comes with 3 of them for 3 different shell types. I suppose this small one is probably the one I'll be using with 223, given the size. And the fact that it fits right into a 223 shell perfectly. So we'll be using that guy. A couple of pieces of installation hardware, apparently. So this is how you disconnect this from the powder die. This piece goes into here, and that interacts with the die to make it work. So let's move on to installing this on the press. Okay, with these the rods, I think the first thing you have to do is this thing came. I have to reposition this piece onto the rod that I'm going to be using for the caliber specific die checking I'm going to be doing, powder checking. So we'll take this off of here and put that onto the smallest piece. This is a rod that fits into the 223 shell. So groove side up, thread it right onto the rod. You see there's threads that go all the way down to here, from here to here. So I just thread with the groove side up, thread into this piece. Okay, so we'll be making this adjustment later. Next, it's recommended that you take this piece off. There's a hex screw here that holds this little retainer onto the body. So we're gonna just take this off. You can't just loosen it, it has to come all the way off. Otherwise, see this little L shape fits right into the groove, and that mates into here, holding the body in place on top of the die, the powder die. So now we're going to be going over to the press and install the powder check die onto the press as instructed. Now for this section, part of the installation, it says you should thread this in around a 1/4 inch or so until it almost a 1/4 inch from the shell plate. So we'll raise the ram. I have a shell in there, so that shouldn't matter. I've actually read in other places where you thread this in until it's mates with the bottom of the tool head. But these instructions says go down until it's around an 1/8 inch or a 1/4 inch, or a 1/4 inch away from the tool head. So we're gonna just follow that instruction and see how it goes. If it doesn't work, we'll try something else. So okay, that's about a 1/4 inch, I think, from the tool head. So now we'll just tighten the lock ring for the die into place. Take this pin out, get this pin out of the way, and just snug it up. There. Put the pin back in. Alright, so for this part of the installation, you take this piece that we took off earlier, this little piece, and the die body, and you line this rod up with that hole, the hole right next to the powder check station. There's a hole, and that just slides right into that hole, and the die body fits right on top of the powder die. Line the hole up so that's not too far on either side. Keep that rod in the middle of the hole. Now we snug this screw up here to hold the powder check body body onto the die. So just snug it up, yeah, just so it doesn't move. Yeah, that's pretty good. When we install this, before we install it into this position that we have it in now, you want to make sure that this little rod right here there's a screw on the end of that, and that can adjust up or down. You want to make sure that's pushed screwed all the way in, because if it's stuck out too far, and when it comes in contact with the platform here, that'll push that rod up into the plastic die body and perhaps crack it. I might take the camera off of the tripod just to kind of go through that a little more. So here, let me just take this off. Again, this is the first time I've done this, and I've not owned a powder check before. This is my first Dillon press. And first of all, let me say, this thing is like a Swiss watch. I used to be a Lee press user, so I had 2 Lee presses before I bought the Dillon. And I was dead set against spending a lot of money on a press. So I started out with a little the turret press, which was a great press. I really liked that thing. I learned how to reload on that, and after I got fast on it, I wanted to, kind of up my production level, so I bought a Lee Loadmaster, which was a progressive press, 5-station, and I thought that would do the job from here on out. I didn't think I'd ever have to buy another press. But I was always fooling around with that thing, trying to get it to work right, and it did become a headache after a while. And I resisted and resisted, and a lot of people recommend just go out and buy yourself a Dillon, but these things are expensive. $600-700 just for the press itself, not including all the little extras and that. And I just was not about to spend that kind of money on a press. But an opportunity came along financially, so I kind of was getting real frustrated with the Loadmaster, so I bought the Dillon. And all the guys that were saying to buy a Dillon, they were right. These things are amazing machines. Once you get these things set up, you can just run it like crazy, and you'll almost never have to make any other adjustments once you get it set right. And it's not difficult to set up at all. But it's a pretty amazing machine. Runs like a top. Very, very well made. The Swiss watch analogy is not a lost analogy. I think you're getting that kind of precision when you buy one of these things. But you paid a price for it. So anyway, let's get back to installing this. So I'm going to take this out. This rod right here, this thing sits inside of a groove. So the rod itself doesn't thread up and down. There's you can see it right there. There's a C-clip that holds this, just captures this rod in place. And the rod is just freewheeling. However, the thread, there's a nut that sticks into that. And this is the adjustment. And this is where you adjust to push against the body to make the body come in contact with the side of the die body to make that little actuator interact with the plunger that sits in here. So yeah, you should have this screwed in all the way in when you're installing it, so that you're not forcing this thing to push against this body at all. So this is just insulation. So anyway, so back to what we were saying before. Line that rod with that hole and just drop it in, and then line the body up with the die, and it just falls into place. Now you make an adjustment right or left to center that rod with the hole, and then tighten. If I'm doing this wrong, guys, feel free to make your comments. Again, This is the first time I've installed one of these things. I've had the Dillon press for a couple of years now, or maybe I'm going on my second year with the press. But I've been wanting to buy one of these things to check my dies, but now that I'm going to be loading up more 223, I thought this would be a good opportunity to do this. Can't be too safe with the amount of powder that we're dealing with the 223 rounds. Having a squib load or an overcharge is, can be extremely dangerous, if not deadly. So this is just a safety precaution. And all this thing does is basically let you know whether or not you're in too far in terms of the amount of powder that you've got loaded into your cartridge. It doesn't calculate how much powder. It just gives you an indication as to whether or not you're in overcharge or undercharge state. Okay, so now, again, we've got this rod threaded all the way in as far as it'll go, right? We've got this little set screw here. The screw is all the way in. This little cap screw on the end is all the way in. So now we're gonna put a shell in this station underneath the powder check. There's no powder in there. We've got the rod that we threaded earlier. We've got that in here. We put this little retainer screw on top. Okay. Now we take that and drop that right into this position on the press. Not sure how far it's supposed to go in, but I think that's about right. So now what we do is we bring the shell plate up with the empty case in it, and let's see what happens. You see, it's not coming in contact. The little plunger there is not coming in contact with, and my camera is always out of focus, that little plunger is not coming in contact with the body. We've got an empty case. That would indicate a low charge or a no charge. So the actuator should be buzzing right now. Why isn't it doing that? That little actuator, we need to drop that down. We need to raise the ram and adjust that screw so it sticks out a little more. Put the shell back in that station. So the shell is there underneath the powder check. We're going to raise the ram and still not coming in contact. So what do? We go back here, we adjust the screw, and we extend it out a little more. Just a little at a time. Put the shell back underneath the station. Raise the ram. There we go. That's what we should get. Okay, so now we know that we're set up properly for an undercharge. So when we come back, I'm going make the adjustment so that when we have the proper amount of powder, that we're getting a no buzz, an indication that we've got a proper amount. But before we do that, let's play around and see what happens when we have too much. So you should get just the opposite effect. Well, the same effect. We should get an actuator when there's an overcharge. So let me break out some powder and let's play around with that a bit. Okay, so now we've got the press set up to measure a correct charge of 23 grains of Hodgdon H335, which is a very, very, very fine ball powder. So in this cartridge, I've got a 23 grain charge of Hodgdon H335. So I'm going to put it in the press. And now we're going to bring up the ram. And notice we got the proper amount of powder and the little actuator. See? Comes right into that slot after we bring the bring the ram up, and that little actuator rod contacts the platform. The platform pushes the device body, and that plunger falls right in line where it should be. When I pull out, you see the plunger comes down and ready for the next round. Let's put this charge in again. This cartridge in the same slot again, and watch how it works. I'm pulling up the ram. The plunger goes up in reaction to the charge, and now the plunger body comes in, and we've got a proper charge, so we're good. Next, I'm going to put an empty cartridge in, and we see what happens when we have a low charge or no charge, basically a squib. I'm bringing up the ram. There was not enough or no charge in the cartridge to move the plunger up, so the actuator device comes in, indicating that there's a low or no charge condition. So now give me a second. I'm going to intentionally overfill this cartridge, the one that had the proper reading. I'm going to overfill that with Hodgdon H335. Give me a second. So first time I've tried this, so I don't know what's going to happen. Hopefully we'll get this device is calibrated right and it'll read an overfill. So here we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You see how much the plunger moved in reaction to the extremely overcharged cartridge. Watch again. The plunger moves way up, and the device is saying, hey, you got a major problem that you need to take a look at. So these things work as advertised, and this is exactly why I bought the powder check, primarily for the 223 cartridges. 23 grains of anything is a lot. I'm so used to loading pistol cartridges where you're talking, 4 grains, 3 grains, maybe 5, 6 grains. The amount of powder is minuscule. So the explosive power of too much powder inside of a rifle cartridge can be catastrophic. You can say the same thing for a pistol cartridge as well. And I'll use this for pistol cartridge as well, because I shoot a lot more of that. But I bought it primarily for 223. I don't shoot as many 223s, but I'm going to start shooting more. And I just wanted to make sure that I'm getting safe loads. Because I never load to the max. I always load towards the low end. Well, specifically with 223. The load that we're talking about for this particular cartridge, 55 grain jacketed round. I think it's 23 grains of H335 is pushing about 3,018 feet per second. 3,018 feet per second, and that's at the starting load. Those bullets are really booking. If you take this up to its max for this particular load that I'm looking at, which is 25.3 grains of H335, that bullet is flying at 3,200 feet per second. That's pretty fast. And you won't believe the pressure. The pressure on that is, oh my God, is 49,300. That's the pressure that round is exerting with 25.3 grains of H335 as that bullet moves at 3,200 feet per second. And that's not the fastest powder in this particular book. I'm looking at this book, the Modern Reloading, second edition, Lee book. I like it a lot. It's got a lot of good recipes in here for loads. But anyway, you can see with a small amount of powder you can get a gigantic punch in terms of bullet velocity, but that also means explosive force inside of the chamber. So you want to make sure you're always loading safely. So again, this is the first time I've set one of these things up. Guys, if I did something wrong, please chime in, let me know what I did wrong in terms of the setup. The thing just came in today. I wanted to do a video on it. I was sort of looking around for videos while this thing was on its way, so I could get a handle on what I needed to do. And I think I saw one video. So I thought, well, okay, when mine comes in, I'm going to create a video just to maybe help some other guy out who's looking to do the same thing that I am. So there you have it. This is the best that I could do. I'm not a video guy. Hope the lighting on this thing was okay. I'm learning as I go. All right. So again, if I did anything wrong, screwed something up totally, my process was wrong from start to finish, hey, chime in, let me know what I did wrong. Believe me, I'm more than willing to take that criticism. Anyway, good loading, and be safe, and get yourself a Dillon XL650 if you can. You won't regret it. It's a fantastic loading machine. It loads everything that at least I'm doing, which is 3 or 4 different pistol calibers, and right now 1 rifle caliber, maybe another one pretty soon, hopefully, or maybe I'll just build myself another AR and I still use 223. But anyway, again, happy loading, and peace out.